Hello, we're back with yet another exciting episode of iBuzz. I'm your host, Nosheen Bukhari, bringing you the best and most exciting news from entertainment industry. First things first, let me quickly take you to the top stories. Marvel unveils new immortal superhero team in Chloe Zhao's Eternals. Matthew Perry infuriates fans after unveiling his new COVID merch. After the royals, Michael Jackson's family slams Martin Bashir for deceiving the late singer. Money Heist releases Season 5 trailer. Netflix will start airing the show in September. Lindsay Lohan to return to acting with Netflix Christmas rom-com. And now heading to our top story of the day. Marvel fans are finally getting an exclusive glimpse at the upcoming film Eternals, as the first trailer for the highly anticipated flick was released on Monday. Directed by Oscar-winning director Chloe Zhao, the film rolled out its first teaser and gave a glimpse of the star cast. To discuss this further, we have film critic James Luxford from UK. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So, James, full of action, power, and emotions, what were your initial thoughts after watching the trailer?
I think it's a very exciting new chapter in the Marvel Universe, which itself is looking for a new beginning after the events of Avengers Endgame, one of the most popular films of all time, one of the highest grossing films of all time, but unfortunately one that has meant a change of personnel in the Avengers ensemble, if you will. So this brings in a huge cast: Angelina Jolie, Richard Madden, Salma Hayek, Kumail Nanjiani, and of course directed by Chloe Zhao. That's a lot of talent. Bringing new stories to the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, and the cast diversity is what makes it even more special. I mean, that is what Chloe Zhao's forte is.
Absolutely, and I think ever since the Marvel Universe began in 2008, there have been calls for a lot more diversity in terms of the type of hero we want to see leading films. That, of course, changed with the arrival of Black Panther, which was a huge success thanks to the late Chadwick Boseman. But, of course, progress never stops, and a continuation of progress behind the camera was demanded as well as in front of it, and it's wonderful to see a big ensemble with actors from a variety of backgrounds representing a truly global brand for Hollywood.
Right. And according to your analysis or expectations, which characters do you think have more hope for increasing strength to the story?
I think Kumail Nanjiani's character, who is a Eternal, who also his disguise, if you will, is to play is to pose as a Bollywood movie star. He looked to several Bollywood movie stars for inspiration for the role, as well as the American actor Bruce Willis, particularly his portrayal of John McClane in the Die Hard movies. And so I think that's a very interesting character that will be coming to the screen. Of course, he underwent a dramatic physical transformation for the role, which he shared on social media. I also think it's really interesting to see Angelina Jolie in her first universe movie, her first Marvel DC superhero film. She was, of course, in the film Wanted, which was based on a comic book, but this is her first foray into the modern universe of superheroes, and I think a star of her caliber coming to Marvel is worth getting excited about.
Right. How do you think Chloe Zhao's vision will fit in Marvel Universe through this movie?
I think it'll fit very well. I think it's worth remembering that the Marvel Universe was built on visionary directors. Of course, Joe Johnston brought his very particular kind of retro feel to the first Captain America movie. Jon Favreau, the first Iron Man film, which kicked all of it off. Kenneth Branagh brought his style to Thor. A lot of great filmmakers have come in and imposed a certain style on it. I'm very excited to see Chloe Zhao and what she can do at this level with all of the budget that a superhero film comes with, to see what this director, who thus far has worked on very small scale, very low budget films, great films, of course, coming off of the Oscar winning Nomadland, but I'm very excited to see what she does on the biggest stage.
Right. And James, do you think that Eternals is going to be the next alternative franchise to Avengers?
I think so. I think it will help move the franchise forward after the events of the Avengers. Of course, it narratively feeds into the same timeline as the Avengers. So really, I think they will blend with where the Avengers go from here. They're not as well known a comic book or characters as the Avengers, as people like Iron Man and Captain America. However, that wasn't a problem for the Guardians of the Galaxy, of course, which was relatively unknown before arriving on the big screen, and was still a big success. I think the big Marvel logo on top of the title is more important to fans than necessarily how much they know about the Eternals moving forward.
Right. And the amount of power shown in each character raises a lot of questions. Even if you look at the trailer itself, at one point they do talk about the Avengers. So do you think that there are certain links between Avengers and the Eternals? And do you think that there are going to be any future Marvel movies that will have a blend of superheroes from both the franchises?
Yes, I think the Eternals is based within the same world as Avengers and reacts to a lot of the events that have happened after the Avengers Endgame. So I think this is very much the plan is to bring the Eternals in to the world of the Avengers, have them interact, and possibly join their ranks or come together in some way. I think it's very exciting. I think fans are going to love it.
Right. And some of the critics have also raised questions that if there was a link between Avengers and the Eternals, and Eternals already existed, then why didn't any of the characters they showed up while there was a war going between Thanos and the Avengers characters? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I've seen a few social media posts on that as well. It is something that raised a few eyebrows. Of course, the apocalyptic war that took place in Infinity War and Endgame. You would think that a all-powerful race of immortal aliens would perhaps have intervened. That's where you put your faith in a storyteller like Chloe Zhao. I believe she's going to make it make sense, even if from the initial trailer there are going to be some people scratching their heads.
Right. And as a film critic, what do you expect from the movie?
I expect a big event movie. A lot of films have moved to 2022 to avoid clashing with Marvel's new franchise. I expect big effects and a storyline that will hopefully open up another 10, 15 years of Marvel movies. Of course, no one really could have seen what was coming in 2008 when Iron Man came out, and they were just testing the waters with the idea of a superhero crossover. So we're at a turning point here where some characters have departed from the Avengers world, and new characters are coming in. So I think what to expect is really anything. The possibilities are endless with a filmmaker like Chloe Zhao and a cast as strong as this. I'm very excited.
Right. And James, do you think that it's the cast that's going to play a bigger role? Because we don't see much of new artists coming in the name of inclusivity. We always see that Marvel opts for, the most expensive actors or the most famous actors. So what are your thoughts? What is your take on that? To have the most expensive and famous actors and not giving chance to to new actors in their universe?
I think it's always a difficult balance to maintain. They want, well, the studio like Marvel wants to have a wide variety of faces and voices on the big screen, but also it's trying to sell a movie, and movie stars sell box office tickets. And so there's no bigger movie star, perhaps, than Angelina Jolie. That's why she's at the front and center of this movie. Yeah. But it would be nice to see new unknown stars, if you will. I suppose the freshest face that will be probably a little bit unfamiliar to viewers will be that of Irish actor Barry Keoghan, who's he's been in many independent films, such as American Animals, but perhaps nothing on this scale before. It would be nice to see up-and-coming actors given a chance, but the realities of filmmaking mean there has to be a link for some people, particularly with characters that are maybe not as well-known as the Eternals.
Right, and you see any hope for the void created by Avengers? I mean, do you think that it's going to be a successful attempt to fulfill that void?
I think Marvel have not had a flop so far in their cinematic universe. Anything they've tried has worked. Even ideas that seemed a little more far-fetched when they were proposed, like Ant-Man, of course, which made a superstar of Paul Rudd, well, more of a superstar of Paul Rudd, and became one of its more successful franchises. So Marvel knows how to launch new characters. It's a big ask to replace characters as popular as Iron Man, characters as popular as Captain America, and perhaps they don't need to. Maybe they just need to make new heroes. Maybe they need to go in a new direction that hopefully will be just as popular. I think with the star power and with the creativity behind the camera, they've got a good chance.
Right, James, it was wonderful having you on board. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
That was James Luxford on the new Marvel Universe, Eternals. And now moving to other story details of the day. Hollywood star Matthew Perry is receiving a backlash on social media after he announced the release of his merchandise related to the COVID-19 vaccine. Perry posted a photo on his social media of him donning a shirt with Chandler Binge emphatic question printed on it. Could I be any more vaccinated? The tweet did ruffle the feathers of online users, blasted the actor for casually linking the upcoming Friends reunion to the coronavirus pandemic. Tad Jackson, late singer Michael Jackson's nephew, has come all guns blazing against ex-BBC journalist Martin Bashir, days after he was found to have deceived the late Princess Diana for his interview with her in 1995. During his appearance on Good Morning Britain, Taj criticized Bashir for a stabbing in the back for the 2003 documentary on his uncle titled Living with Michael Jackson. Before his appearance on Good Morning Britain, Taj told TMZ, Bashir's manipulated footage and unethical journalism is one of the main reasons his uncle Michael is not here today. Money Heist Season 5. Netflix announces release dates with a heart-thumping teaser. Money Heist Season 5's new trailer proves it isn't a robbery now, but a war. This time, the gang is back with more firepower and anger. They aren't going to forget Nairobi's sacrifice. It is beyond robbery now. It is a war. And the teaser proves it with numerous moments that are scattered all over. The season is set to release in September. American actress Lindsay Lohan is all poised to make a return to her long-stalled acting career with a Netflix romantic comedy movie. The movie, directed by Janine Damian, will feature 34-year-old Lohan in the lead role. The Christmas movie will be executed and produced by Amanda Phillips and Eric Gerboy. Netflix seeks to release the Lindsay Lohan star in late 2020, though the movie is yet to start filming in November. Lindsay Lohan started her acting career while she was just 11 years old in Nancy Meyers' The Parent Trap. That is it from Newsroom. We will be right back after a quick short break. Don't go anywhere and stay tuned. Welcome back. In this segment, we will be reviewing the 2014 dark comedy Birdman. Regan Thompson, a fading cinema star, plans to resurrect his career with a passionate Broadway production. However, during rehearsals, his co-star is injured, forcing him to hire a new actor. The movie was met with a business of $108.2 million in box office, ending up with 3 Academy Awards. To review this further, we have CBS News producer and film editor Charlie David Page. Charlie, welcome to the show.
Great to be back, Nasheen.
So, a dark comedy that also has a little bit of horror and sci-fi aspect in it. How twisted did you find while watching it?
Yeah, I can remember all the way back to the very late days of 2014 when this was released. It hadn't come out in cinemas in Australia. We'd gotten an invite to a media screening and just went in without really knowing too much of the premise. Had an idea of what would actually happen during the film, that it all played out as one continuous shot. But it was just so blown away by the fact that it was this really strange melding of genres and just took us on this really wild ride around 90 or 2 hours worth of time throughout this theater as this evening progressed. And it was really, really amazing to watch unfold.
Yeah, and talking about camera work, most parts of the movie, they were filmed in just one take. I mean, very less camera transitions are to be found in this movie, which of course is amazing.
Yeah, and I guess it was so well plotted out because they managed to get it down to just 16 takes for the entire film, which is just insane to me. Sometimes the actors were having to learn, 15 pages worth of dialogue just to be able to get through those takes, and they'd have to rehearse them so much to be able to get them perfect, because not only did the actors have to get all their lines right, but the crew also had to do their job perfectly too. The cameramen had to hit their mark, and the lighting people had to hit their marks. So it was so important. It was all just down to a T. And you can tell from the final version that it's not 100% perfect, but the fact that they kind of got it all together in such a short space of time, and then it only took 2 weeks to edit, is kind of crazy.
Right. And Regan's character is undoubtedly very powerful, but what is your take on his character being double powered by the other supporting characters?
Oh, look, I think there's this whole film inside a film inside a film that's going on with this particular movie. We kind of are seeing Michael Keaton playing this role, which is kind of a version of himself, and his interactions with these other characters is really kind of what drives him to become this strange superhero, super villain throughout this piece. And it's kind of when we get to the end and we see that final shot where we see, and you don't see what happens, but you see Emma Stone's reaction, that you kind of get a bit more of a glimpse into what actually has happened. But that is still very much open for interpretation.
Right, and the experiment with some of the actors like Zach Galifianakis. I mean, we all always seen him performing comedies, but in this movie, his character was remarkably very different.
Yeah, and I think it goes to show Zach Galifianakis' range. He's a fairly comedic actor, but the crux of it is that he's actually got a much wider range than you would expect, and did a really great job. Though his role is perhaps not the biggest in this film, it's great to see him take on something so dramatic, and it kind of spurned on a few of similar roles. Although having heard a few interviews with him, it does seem he prefers the comedic roles to the dramatic ones. He gets to have a bit more fun with them, but he also says he finds them a lot more challenging too.
Right, and also, Charlie, the movie won 3 Oscars for Best Pictures, Best Cinematography, and Best Screenplay. However, the team didn't see that coming. It was also a surprise for them. when they were announced, firstly in the nomination category, and secondly winning the Academy Awards for the movie. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it was kind of fantastic that it won those Academy Awards, and I think it did kind of come out of nowhere for the team because, it's a bit of a bad omen to be nominated for as many awards as it was. It had 9 nominations all up, and that typically means you don't get very many as a particular film for that year in the Oscars. But this one actually won more than expected, and it won some of those really key ones, as you pointed out. I think they're the ones that probably really deserve for. Although I think Best Picture is still quite contentious in some people's eyes. It's one of those films that you either really love or you really hate.
Right. And also the topic of the movie, I mean, it got a little bit controversial. It stirred a lot of controversy within the actors community and film critics community, especially talking about Regan's character and the film critics character. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Bringing in a very true side of Hollywood in a very dramatic aspect.
Sure. Look, this goes back to that film within a film that I was talking about. We're talking about Michael Keaton, who really hadn't appeared very much on screen before this role for quite a while, and the last time that he'd really made a major impact on screen was in the Batman sequel, the Tim Burton Batman. And so it kind of mirrored reality in the way that it showed this guy who was remembered for being a superhero, but he was trying to push past that and trying to make a name for himself. So it kind of mirrored reality in that way. But then you have this whole creative and critical angle that they kind of play into and almost poke fun at. They're trying to not take them seriously, but at the same time they want to say, this is while this is all a creative endeavor, it's not really the be all and end all to have creative acclaim to any kind of entertainment.
So Charlie, what Birdman tells us and what it makes us understand about the state of theater and criticism, especially keeping the film critic's role in mind?
Sure. Look, I think it sees the film critic or the critic as a bit of a fickle character. We see this character who is, I don't know, almost a nemesis of our anti-hero, and we're seeing it in a perspective that and as someone who acts as a critic, perhaps we don't necessarily have them come off in the best light. It's a bit of a satirical take for that critic role, and perhaps see it as not coming out to be the most shining and translucent star in that production, because we kind of see the fact that it's not necessarily the high and mighty lofty role for the critic that you would normally perceive. It's perhaps something that's a little bit superfluous if at the end of the day for whether it be a theatrical or film role.
Right. And about the ending, it is all left to the viewer's imagination. What do you imagine what happened to the Birdman? Again, without giving any spoilers to our viewers, what did you think that is going to happen to Birdman?
Look, to me, there is only one answer. I think he soars. I think I think he ascends. I think that's what happens. There's no real, in my head, other option. The reaction on Emma Stone's face as she sees her father flying there, well, what we assume to be, is just something, mesmerizing, and it takes it to a whole new place. The director, Alejandro Iñárritu, he actually says that ending came to him in a dream. So it does absolutely make sense that it has that very surreal quality to it, that we don't necessarily have an answer to what actually happens at the end of the film.
Right, and so keeping that in mind, do you expect another sequel for the movie?
Oh, look, I can't imagine this is the kind of film we'll ever see a sequel for. You know, it was hugely successful, but it's also one of those kind of films where it stands alone by itself, and it just, Alejandro would not really delve into something for a second time around. I feel he's on to bigger and better things, and he's the kind of director, creative mind that really pushes for different and alternative things. You know, just have a look between the difference between the Birdman and The Revenant. You know, they're so vastly different as films. So, you know, I'm glad that we'll probably get more very, very contrasting films from him.
Right, right. And Charlie, 3 major reasons why would you recommend this movie to our viewers to watch?
1, it's probably nothing like anything you've ever seen before. 2, it is, in its cinematography, absolutely impressive. And 3, believe it or not, the you know, award-winning score, which is this kind of jazz score, is all completely improvised on the day, and that in itself is absolutely spectacular.
Right, right. Charlie, thank you very much indeed. It was great talking to you.
Great to talk to you again, Nasheen.
That was Charlie with his review on 2014 sci-fi and dark comedy Birdman. And that is it from today's episode. We hope you liked it. Don't forget to share your feedback on the social media link mentioned down below. We'll be back with some fresh content next time. Until then, take care and goodbye.